The next topic we want to talk about is what we call estoppel, transfer of title by estoppel. Now, estoppel is not a word that is common in the English language. Most of you have probably, outside of taking this class and reading this chapter, never heard of the word estoppel. So we need to talk about how do you define this word? Well, estoppel is a legal bar to the use of contradictory words or acts and asserting a claim against another. What does that mean? The title holder is legally prevented from claiming ownership of the property. So he is estopped, or maybe you just use the word stopped. If I know that someone thinks that this automobile that I'm letting Bill drive. I own the vehicle. I'm letting Bill drive the vehicle. At some point, everybody thinks Bill owns the vehicle. And they say that Bill has a really nice vehicle. Isn't that great? And I sit there and say, yeah, that's great that Bill owns that vehicle. Now, in the case of an automobile with a title, there'd be a certificate of title that would prevent this from happening. But if I allowed everyone to think that he was the owner, and then he sells it or gives it away, and I come back and say, wait a minute, he didn't own that at all. That's mine, and I want it back. If I've allowed the impression to be given that that property belongs to another, then we would say I'm stopped or I'm prevented from claiming ownership based upon this concept of estoppel. So for title to transfer by estoppel, the purchaser has to be able to prove that the purchase was made in good faith and that the buyer believes the seller is the real owner or one that is appointed to act for the real owner. So let's say we're dealing with something that doesn't have a title, it doesn't have a serial number, and that's the item we're selling. Let's say it was an expensive piece of jewelry, and I've let this other person use that jewelry, wear that jewelry, possess that jewelry at all times. And I've heard people say to me, such as an innocent party, that's really a beautiful piece of jewelry that Joyce owns, and I would like to buy that from her. What do you think it's worth? And I said, I think it's probably worth $5,000. I think that'd be a good deal for you if you paid Joyce $5,000 for that piece of jewelry. Well, if I'm the owner of it, maybe there's not a certificate of title, maybe there's no written document, but I am the legal owner, and Joyce agrees that I'm the legal owner. But if I let Joyce sell that to Sally, I can't then come to Sally and say, well, I forgot to tell you, that really didn't belong to Joyce. I was just letting her use that. It's mine, and I'm sorry that she cheated you out of $5,000, but I'd like to have that jewelry back. And I'm going to get it back because it's mine, and she didn't have good title. And she couldn't transfer good title to you because she can't transfer any better title to you than she possesses. Well, I would be stopped. I would be stopped from doing that because the buyer would have believed that the seller's the real owner, and I would have allowed that. I would have allowed that to happen, and therefore, the buyer would be entitled to claim the ownership because I've lost by the transfer of my ownership by estoppel, the right to that property. So we say some examples of transfer of money or commercial paper made out to the bearer. So if I have $10,000 in cash and I let somebody else think that another party owns that and it's their money, well, then I can't come back and say, well, you know what, it was mine. Commercial paper, if you had a bond that a company owes you money based upon an agreement that you've loaned them money and you have a bond, if that bond says payable to the bearer, and I haven't done something to put my name on there to prevent the bearer from transferring it to another bearer, well, then by estoppel, I can't come back and claim that it's, my property. Now you can see it makes sense here. If people were constantly afraid of accepting delivery of items in which there was no proof of ownership by a certificate or some sort of recorded document, it would derail commerce. So, this concept of transfer by estoppel makes a lot of sense then. So, the proof of ownership, is going to be valid even if it came from an unauthorized seller because you allowed it as the true owner to appear that they had the right to it.